If you want to save money on your trading card purchases, we have a promo link over at 50cards.shop. Enter the promo code ATNIGHT to get 5% off your order. Hey everybody, welcome to Nexus at Night, your weekly Vanguard podcast. I'm Atlas.
I'm Matt.
And Root Beer is not here, which is...
True.
Yes, he is in Japan, and I know what you're thinking. Well, you record this remotely. Why can't he just call it? He's in Japan. Let him have his vacation.
No, he's chilling.
He's
Look, he doesn't need to be here all the time.
That's true.
He's having a good time. He should enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm surprised you guys don't do episodes without me more often.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Because, like, there's that time that you guys did it with Living Proof where I forgot what I was doing.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
That was pretty fun. You guys...
You're the heart and soul of the podcast. That's why.
Okay, whatever. I think Root Beer has become the heart and soul of the podcast.
I'm, like, not even a card game player at this point, so...
Don't tell them that. Like... You still have the expertise and the wisdom that we both lack. I think so. But anyway, this week we're not talking about something specifically Vanguard related, but we are talking about something that every Vanguard player, every Yu-Gi-Oh player, every Magic player, every Hearthstone... Wait, no, not them.
Definitely not.
Have all had to deal with. And that is in regards to TCGPlayer.com. Because recently they voted to unionize.
It seems like they had done so like a while ago, right?
Yeah, they voted to unionize with themselves. Like they as employees voted to unionize in April, and then on the 12th, about a week ago, let me just go back to their Twitter feed because otherwise I'm gonna get this wrong. Oh, good. I closed the window.
Why'd you do that?
I did the thing where like Twitter randomly takes you to the community tab and then it can't take you back for some reason. Okay, all right, found it. So quoting them, quoting Jacobin. July 12th, workers at eBay subsidiary TCGPlayer, an online trading card marketplace, picketed the company yesterday to protest alleged pregnancy discrimination against one of their own. More than a year after unionizing, they still don't have a contract. So they have voted to unionize, but there's no contract with the company yet.
Yeah, so the article basically outlines the article from Jacobin outlines that they when they were acquired by eBay, there was kind of a push to kind of go through kind of form the union, despite the fact that TCGPlayer corporate has kind of attempted to bust that effort many times, including hiring a specific law firm that does that. And this is like the extent that companies are willing to go to stop their employees from unionizing is quite insane.
Yeah, like they were using the same organization or firm or whatever it is that Starbucks was using to try and bust their union. And for people wondering, what are we drawing this from? It's at TCG Union -CWA on Twitter, and the Jacobin article about this will all be linked in the description for the episode, so you can go look at this yourself if you want more details, and also just follow them because they are they deserve our support as trading card game players.
Yeah, the law firm Littler Mendelsohn, the one that was used by TCGPlayer, like you said, also Starbucks, also Amazon, also Nissan. So
William Randolph Hearst, also the company from Blade Runner.
Pay us and we'll try to, and we'll legally attempt to stop people from unionizing. And you can't like the legal part is the difficult part here, which is why they can survive off this kind of thing.
Why they can because
you can't just be like, we're gonna ban like any talk of unionization, right? That's not gonna fly,
right?
Because there are laws against that.
Yeah, so but 100 years ago, some guy kicked a boss's door down and shot him in the face, and that's why we can talk about it.
But it's this company is probably expensive, but like it's funny like how much they're willing to pay to like stop unionizing, and it usually when companies do this kind of thing, they'll like try to come up with reasons why the union might be bad for someone. And then but it's funny how much they're willing to pay to like prevent it from happening. So
right,
who is it really bad for?
Well, because normally how it was painted to like our parents in the 80s and 90s when and late 70s when unionization power began to fall apart was, you're paying dues to a union, what benefits are they giving you? You'll be fine, you don't need the union. And look where we are now. I'm realizing this is almost kind of turning into an episode of Generation Dan because we're talking about like through the ages and stuff. Sorry guys, but it's something that we're in a interesting position as the customers of this company, where and you like, even if people who don't play Vanguard and they play other TCGs, they're involved in this too. Do you boycott TCGPlayer while they're striking against their bosses? They haven't really called for that, it seems like.
I mean, you can still do that.
You can.
But also, like, it's tough because it's crazy to me that a TCGPlayer thought they could get away with this, like, at least, and people not get upset about it, especially with like when like they're already like delaying negotiating a contract to then be like, oh, we're just not going to give you like any maternity leave, or we're not going to be like lenient with your schedule like due to pregnancy.
Yeah.
Which is like something that they should have to do, and if they don't, that's a huge issue.
Yeah,
very bad.
If you look on their Twitter, there's pictures of so you have like the employees in red, which for those who don't know, red is typically the color of unions in general. I'm part of the teachers union in my school district, and during staff meetings, you're supposed to wear red. So it's not just just TCGPlayer. It's any unionization effort, typically red. So you have these people in red striking, and then there's tweets like, at eBay is stalling, has dragged out bargaining for 11 months. In this time, eBay has repeatedly flouted labor law by changing our working conditions without approval as a union. Now they're trying to punish workers for being pregnant. We won't have it. And most of the time that this stuff happens, I have almost never heard of an instance where people trying to unionize lie about stuff like that.
It doesn't really benefit them to lie about it, right? Because that would be that causes all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
And when you have a huge group of people have you ever tried to get like, let's say you have a giant group of people, right? And even if you all like share some common connection, have you tried to get a whole group of people to lie about one thing? It doesn't work very well.
This is why I don't believe moon landing conspiracy theorists. I'm like, do you know how many people you would need to get to?
Yeah, it's like
keep it under the mat, keep it under your hat. That they fake.
It's like, and so when you have thousands of employees just being like, yeah, they've done these things, and you're like, all right, I believe you, because it's like, and I don't know if TCGPlayer eBay has even responded. Probably not.
So far as I can tell, no. I don't think eBay themselves would just like do it on Twitter. I feel like this would be
definitely not.
No. Yeah, although they did retweet us because we retweeted one of their union posting things on Twitter, and then I said from Vanguard to One Piece, from UDO to MTG, we support the TCG unions, and then so
Nice.
that felt kind of cool. Untap, upkeep, unionize. That's a great slogan.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use TCGPlayer anyway, but I 100% support their efforts.
Did you before when you were
occasionally?
Yeah,
but sometimes it's just more convenient for me to buy it through a local game store.
Yeah,
because then I could just go pick it up instead of like waiting for 12 packages in the mail.
That is true. I typically like to buy through the store, but I also like buying singles. And
no, I get that. Well, one of my local
locals.
shops has a bunch of singles for like Pokemon and stuff, which is what I would buy singles for. So since it was pretty easy enough to buy singles for Pokemon, and like I was just like, yeah, I'll just do that.
Yeah, my locals doesn't have a great selection of Vanguard singles. They have good singles for Yu-Gi-Oh! And
Magic.
No, not Magic. It's yeah, One Piece is the other one.
Yeah. I am the least interested in One Piece. I mean, I like the manga. I like the manga. I don't care about the card game at all.
I gave it a shot with Richard and all them, and just wasn't really my bag.
No, I don't care about Lorcana either. I don't. No,
I feel like if I was to get my wife into any TCG, I could probably do Lorcana because she just loves Disney.
It does have Disney characters on it. That is true. But
it's also really expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it's because it has Disney characters on it, right?
Yes, but I don't want to open that can of worms. Like what? Like
yeah, I get you.
Yeah. I've achieved my goal, but at what cost, right? So yeah, this podcast episode was just to bring people's attention to this strike where you probably interact with this website every day, and
everyone has at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just need a card and you don't care who has it.
It's either that or no one, because it's like a comment or something, and why would I have this on me? It's in my bulk somewhere else.
One thing about living in California is we could always just go to like Frank and Sons and like get any card we needed at any point.
That's true.
And then like outside of that, I'm just like, dang, I need like this dumb uncommon, and I'm just like, this is the worst.
Just that picture of Michael Stott.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me how like I'm glad it's well, this is an unfortunate way for it to get out there, but I hope it's good success. This looks really bad on TCGPlayer, and I hope they're aware of that.
What do you mean?
Just like the situation in general makes TCGPlayer look quite bad. Like with the changing their working conditions, denying maternity.
You're saying the company, not the people striking.
The company, yes.
Got it.
When I say TCGPlayer, I mean specifically the company the company.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry.
It does make.
I would say the workers at TCGPlayer if I wanted. Yeah, sorry. I should be clear about that to start.
It's all good.
But it does make the company look very bad.
Mm-hmm.
I just cannot believe.
Yeah, because like, what are the other options? Troll and Toad, and is that owned by eBay too? Who owns Troll?
No, they're their own. At least as far as I knew, that they were their own shop in Kentucky. But of course, my information on Troll and Toad is really, really old. But I'm also not shopping for Troll and Toad.
Yeah, and it seems like they have HeroClix on there before Vanguard. That's
okay. HeroClix is very popular in the South.
Is it?
Yes.
Wow.
So they're a Kentucky-based store, I'm pretty sure.
I see.
Which makes a lot of sense that they would have HeroClix. I grew up in Tennessee, and my local card shop, like obviously we had tons of Magic players, virtually no Yu-Gi-Oh players.
Yeah.
But there was tons of everyone played Magic basically.
Gotcha.
And a ton of HeroClix.
Yeah. So they have, like, looking at their Vanguard stuff, it's pretty thin. Like, you type in Vanguard and you get Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard, the Yu-Gi-Oh card first.
That's a card.
It is a card.
Look, I mean, that is the most likely card people are searching for, I suppose.
Yeah. They have singles by clan and like.
Yeah, I mean that's going to happen a lot though, because Vanguard is a fairly niche game comparatively.
Yeah,
like everyone knows what Yu-Gi-Oh is, even if they don't play it. Everyone knows what Magic is. Like most people know what Magic is, even if they don't play it. Like they're obviously like people who are completely disconnected from the gaming space are going to be unfamiliar, but they're going to be unfamiliar with every other game as well. But if somebody is vaguely familiar that card games exist, they're going to know Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! 100%.
Yeah, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, all three of them had like a moment in the zeitgeist, I think.
And Pokemon is like just a massive thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't even need to play card games. You're like, oh, Pokemon, I know that.
In the early 90s, late 90s, and early 2000s, you had Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Respectively, having their mostly Satanic Panic stuff.
That is true. There was a funny story. When I was a kid, I went to Walmart and asked if they had Magic the Gathering packs.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, we don't carry Magic the Gathering packs because it's satanic or something. This was at Walmart, by the way. And I'm just like, and they had Yu-Gi-Oh packs, and I just like couldn't. As a kid, I just could not wrap my head around what like the difference between the two. I'm just like, what's the problem? What's the difference between these two things?
And they're like, no, they took the halo off Treeborn Frog, so now it's not Satan. They said, that made it all good, I guess.
It was just very funny. I could not understand. And of course, now everyone sells Magic cards.
Magic is the TCG.
It's funny because like Magic has just become a game that I want like and completely disconnected from, and it really goes back to I think around 2007. So this was we're talking 17 years ago now. This is kind of I think the start of like falling out with Magic. So I played Magic since like 2001. Like I played Magic for a long ass time, or I had played Magic for a long ass time. But I had a great time. I was playing through Invasion. I love drafting, so every set was something new. Played a ton during Odyssey, Odyssey Onslaught, like all the like those standard formats. Played a lot of Psychotog. Played a lot of Frog in a Blender, which is an old deck that uses a mechanic called Madness that you get bonuses.
What the fuck is Frog in a Blender?
So Frog in a so Magic has a lot of joke deck names where it's just like you just kind of Frog in a Blender is a deck where you play there's a card called Wild Mongrel. Okay. It was a common in Odyssey. It was a 2-mana 2/2, green 1 for a 2/2 hound. And it was you just use that card as a discard engine because it had an ability, discard a card, it gets +1/+1, and becomes a color of your choice until end of turn.
Okay.
So this was pretty good because you can pump up your creature, but you're losing cards, right? Yeah. No. Because the way Madness worked is when you discarded a card, you could instead cast it for its Madness cost.
Okay.
An example of a Madness card is Basking Rootwalla, which is a 1-mana 1/1, but has a Madness where if you discard this card, you can remove it from play and cast it for its Madness cost, which for Basking Rootwalla is 0.
So you can play stuff.
Discard it to Wild Mongrel, cast it for 0, and of course this can be done anytime you discard it, even on your opponent's turn. Okay. And you just put Basking Rootwalla into play for free.
So what's the frog part? I get the blender part.
So the deck is red-green.
Oh, frog blender. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And what's red and green?
Frog and blender.
It's a dumb joke.
Okay.
But like,
all right, I interrupted you. Continue.
But yeah, like there are other good cards. Like there's another card called Fiery Temper, which is a 3-mana instant that deals 3 damage, but it has a Madness for 1 red. So it becomes basically a lightning bolt as long as your Wild Mongrel's on field.
Okay.
And you have Violent Eruption, which is Madness 3 mana. You just deal 4 damage as you choose. And this was bolstered in later sets when you had cards like Arrogant Worm, which is a 4/4 trampler for 3 out of Madness. Mm-hmm. And another card called Roar of the Worm, if you chose to play that card, which made a 4-mana 6/6, which was fairly reasonable at the time. The color change on Wild Mongrel was actually quite powerful as well, because a lot of cards said destroy target non-black creature.
Ooh.
And because you could change the color, you could change it to a black creature and it's no longer a valid target for the spell.
That's pretty funny.
So it was a pretty straightforward deck. I played a lot of the later variants of the deck. I didn't play like the very first version of it. I played a lot of the ones where there's versions where they added blue, because you get access to cards like Circular Logic, which is a Madness counterspell. You got access to another discard outlet, and Aquamoeba, which was a less good but still decent discard outlet. And Factor Fiction, if you wish.
Okay. So what was the falling out with Magic, you were saying?
Oh, so in 2007, that's when Commander started to pick up steam. And it's weird because thinking back on it, I could never have predicted that Commander at the time was kind of fascinating because it was a way to use all these cards you don't normally use, or as it was called at the time, EDH. Like you had a bunch of cards that were sitting around from old standard formats, and this kind of gave you a way to use them. You only needed one of each. You're just like, cool, I can just ship off the rest of these. And I think what was fascinating for Commander for me at the time was that there was no card specifically printed for Commander. You were just kind of like throwing cards together and making stuff happen. So you got to use funny legends from like the old days, like Airtide the Corrupted or what have you, that you would never use otherwise. And yeah, you would just build 100 card singleton deck with this commander card or leader, whatever you want to call it. But as time went on, Wizards kind of went all in, or kind of started printing lots of things specifically for Commander. And at first it wasn't too bad because it was always part of like these Commander deck sets, which did impact Eternal formats of Magic, like Legacy, which I did play, but weren't like the end all. Like didn't affect the regular sets too much. But eventually they started printing cards in regular sets that were like very obviously printed for Commander. Mm-hmm. And which kind of soured me on the whole thing. Interesting. And I began to not really like Commander just because it was always kind of
in the way.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to draft really.
Yeah.
And but as more and more people who associate Magic with Commander, and nowadays it's like if somebody says they play Magic, my default assumption is that they only play Commander, which is very true. Like there's tons of people who just only association with Magic as Commander. And it's just like not for me anymore. Although I hear one of the latest draft sets is pretty good, but I'm like so far out at this point, I don't even want to own cards.
Fair.
I'll cube draft with my friends, but that's about it.
I know the fire also had a big part in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate in that I had sold off a lot of my stuff already prior to the fire. But yeah, I did lose quite a bit in the fire as well. I lost my Storm deck, which was unfortunate, but that's okay.
But just one of those things where it's like, what's even the point anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I lost just so much stuff, and yeah, it sucks. A couple of Weiss decks survived somehow
because they're the devil.
Somehow, Bake Monogatari survives.
That was the real devil all along, moms. You had it wrong. Actually, that's giving me an idea for an episode on its own, like Commander. Compare and contrast with Overdress and like how people like for the people who have been around a long time. I don't know.
Like formats? I don't know.
Yeah. Or where just like one thing becomes the poster child for your
but
game,
like in Vanguard sense, it's like supposed to be.
Yes.
But like in Magic sense, like I would think that they would still want Standard to be like the premier format, but like I don't assume anyone plays Standard. Even if they tell me they don't play Commander, I don't even assume they play Standard. Mm-hmm. That's how bad it is.
Standard became the frog in the blender. Done.
But
yeah.
It takes me back to some of my old favorite Magic cards because like there's a card called Flame Tongue Kavu. 4 mana 4/2 comes into play, deal 4 to something. A creature.
Okay.
It's a removal spell, but also a creature.
That's pretty cool.
I love those cards. And it was so simple back then, right? Like, you're like, this card's obviously good. No need to think about it. Cards were also much simpler back then for the most part. So.
Yes.
Which is, I don't mind the complexity of current cards, but I kind of don't like Planeswalkers. I'm one of those anti-Planeswalker boomers.
That's fair.
Which is kind of why I think War of the Spark in 2019, I started to sour on current Magic design really badly. And then by what is it, Eldraine, I had stopped playing completely.
Okay. When was Eldraine?
I think September of that year, October of that year.
Okay. Right.
And that was when Oko came out.
Okay.
Oko was a ridiculously powerful Magic card.
Is that the name or is it an acronym?
Oko, Thief of Crowns, or something like that.
Gotcha.
It's a 3-mana Planeswalker with 4 starting loyalty. Has a +2 to make a food token, which can be sacrificed for 3 life for 2 mana. You pay 2 mana, sack it, gain 3 life, which is whatever. The other piece of the puzzle is that Oko has a +1 that targets a creature or artifact and turns it into a 3/3 elk with no abilities.
I don't get it.
So basically, you cannot, if your opponent has a big, dumb, scary monster, you can be like, Oko, make it an elk.
Like you turn the thing on the other. I thought I just made
or you can take your food token that you made last turn and turn it into an elk. Oh, look, now you have a creature.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like, and then he has an ultimate where you can exchange control of one of your
food
opponent's
tokens?
Creatures with one of your things. Yeah.
Oh, so it's creature swap or whatever. Cool.
Yeah, it's. I think let me get the exact exchange control of target artifact or creature control with target creature and opponent controls with power 3 or less.
Okay.
So you can always just take one of their small guys by giving him a food token.
And the food token is just nothing.
Yeah, the food token gain 3 life, but they're like whatever. And like what's frustrating is like this is a 3-mana Planeswalker, which is kind of basically the cheaper a Planeswalker is, the more problem it's going to be a little harder to remove generally.
Got it.
Just because like it comes down much faster, so you're less prepared to like deal with it. But it also, if like the turn you play it, has 6 loyalty, which means you have to deal 6 damage to this card to kill it, which is probably not happening.
That's dinner. Like most of the damage cards that I've heard you say throughout this episode is like 2, 3. Like that means that's at least 2 cards.
Yeah.
To remove it, right?
Yep, pretty much. It's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, and so it's not even that like I thought Oko was kind of like a tragedy. I don't know why he had 2+ abilities, but by that point, like Pioneer was like getting started, and then I stopped playing in the end of 2020, and then by 2020, or was it? Wait, no, by end of 2019 maybe, and then by 2020 or 2020, whenever the pandemic happened, it's kind of like it led right into that.
March 2020.
Yeah, so that would have been November 2019 was like when I stopped playing Magic.
Gotcha.
And then March 2020 happened, and I never thought about it again.
Fair enough. Well, so all of this is to say, yes, support your local union, support TCG Union. Once again, shouting them out before the episode ends here at TCG Union CWA. That will be in the description, along with the Jacobin article and their just their website, tcgunion.org. Message to any TCG Union people out there: if you want to come on the show, ? Hit us up at Nexus at Night. I understand that might be maybe a little thorny, but the invitation's out there. So at Nexus at Night. Listeners, TCG Union people, you can, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Nexus at Night. Thanks, Darren, Cole, Josh, Jeremy, GR, Ollie, Tony, our $10 patrons. How's about you, good sir?
Find me at Wiggums, GGs.
And me at Atlas Novak. All the places. My other podcast, Generation Dan, has new episodes every Friday. At Generation Dan, our newest episode that dropped yesterday was about like 12 hours after Trump got shot. So let's see how poorly that aged, or recorded about 12 hours after Trump got shot. So there's that, and my other podcast, Last Minute History. is also on that YouTube channel. So thanks everybody for listening, and until next time, I was Atlas.
I'm still Matt.
And have a good night, everybody.